I have 2 in the book, but I've got about 7 more to put into the grade book. So I've graded about, I think, 9 of them. Now, if you scored a 30 out of 30 on the first part of the test, yours will be the last one's graded. Sorry. I'm trying to hopefully give some people some boosts to their grade. In some cases, it's working out. In some cases, it's not. Okay. So, yeah. So I'm working on those diligently. Playoff baseball starts tomorrow night, which I want to be free to watch without essays hanging over my head. So my goal is to finish those before the first wild card game Tuesday night. I can feel free to watch what I want.
I know people still watch baseball.
Hey, good morning. I was recording this for you, but I don't need to anymore.
Okay.
I could just record it and put it on for my subscribers.
How many subscribers do you have?
Yeah, we'll see, and I'll get some views. I've been getting a lot of views on it. Not a lot.
How many subscribers do you have?
More people than I've had, absolutely. 114, I think.
Like and subscribe.
Like and subscribe. Okay, so guys, where are we at? We are living under the Articles of Confederation. We've talked about what powers it has, what power it doesn't have, and we've also started to talk about. I read some letters from Madison, Jefferson, and so forth about the Shade Rebellion and the problems that are facing this country. And I also kind of gave you some examples of some disputes that were going on between the states over commerce, like navigation rights on rivers and the Chesapeake Bay, border disputes. Okay, one of the biggest problems we have is our debt that we have to retire after the revolution. Okay, now I have this letter in here. I'm on page 41. If you guys can find that, and I read to you a little bit the other day. I've got one more letter to read, and that is from the father of our country. Okay, and that's George Washington. I want to read this, and then also I want to dig into Chernow's book on Hamilton just a bit. This stuff's pretty dry, but it really shows you the reasons why they're going to call for a new or for a constitutional convention to alter or change the Constitution. Okay, and behind a lot of this will be George Washington. Now, at this point, guys, he's writing this letter in 1786 to James Madison of Virginia. And Washington, after 8 years of war, he told Martha, his wife, he says, Martha, I'll be home for Christmas. He made it home 8 Christmases later. You know what I mean? Like, he was tied up with this thing called the American Revolution, defeating the Goliath that was Great Britain. You understand? And that took all of his attention. And he did that for 8 years, guys. So he finally gets to go home to Mount Vernon. And now everything that he put into this is falling apart. The system is not working. And this is what he describes here, okay? So hopefully that will help you pay attention through this letter as I read it to you, okay? I know, it's reading to you. It's 9 o'clock in the morning and I'm reading to you, okay? So try and follow along, okay? Let us look at our national character and the things beyond the present period. No morn ever dawned more favorable than our day, and no day was ever more clouded than the present! Exclamation point. Who uses those? Okay. Wisdom and good examples are necessary at this time to rescue the political machine from the impending storm. What is the political machine? Huh? What is the government? What is the Constitution? The Articles of Confederation we have to rescue the Articles of Confederation from the impending storm, the political machine, our new government. Virginia now has an opportunity to set the latter, and enough of the former, I hope, to take the lead in promoting this great and arduous work. Without some alteration to our political creed, which is the Articles, the superstructure that have been 7-year raising at the expense of much blood and treasure must fall. We are fast verging to anarchy and confusion, exclamation point. A letter which I just received from General Knox, who had just returned from Massachusetts, is replete with melancholy information of the temper and designs of a considerable part of that people. Among other things, he says their creed is that the property of the United States has been protected from confiscation of Britain by the joint exertions of all, and therefore ought to be the common property of all. What is he describing? Marxism. That this property should belong to all of us. And he that attempts opposition to this creed is an enemy to equity, justice, and ought to be swept from the face of the earth. Sounds quite radical to me. Again, they are determined to annihilate all debts, public and private, and have agrarian laws which are easily affected by the means of unfounded paper money, and shall be a tender in cases whatever, all cases whatever. He adds, the numbers of these people in Massachusetts amount in Massachusetts to about 1/5 of several populous counties, and to them may be collected people of similar sentiments from the states of Rhode Island, Connecticut, and New Hampshire, as to constitute a body of 12 or 15,000 desperate and unprincipled men. They are chiefly of the young and active part of the community. Washington's warning of a revolution, a new revolution. Turn the page. We're on page 42 now, Max. How melancholy is the reflection in so short a space we have made such large strides towards fulfilling the prediction of our transatlantic foes. Guys, this experiment, this American experiment that nobody's ever done before, the Europeans are watching us fall into chaos. They predicted this would happen. These people don't know how to govern themselves. They don't know how to do this. And so by what is happening, guys, we are fulfilling this prediction. Okay, as I'll read to you from Hamilton, our businesses that were trading on the stock market in Europe were trading at way less value than they were actually worth because they thought our society was going to collapse. And we are helping that come to fruition. They say, leave them to themselves and their government will soon dissolve. Will not the wise and good strive to avert this evil? Or will their supineness suffer ignorance and the arts of self-interested, designing, disaffected, and desperate characters involve this rising empire into wretchedness and contempt? What stronger evidence can be given of the wanton energy of our governments than these disorders? If there exists not a power to check them, what security has a man of life, liberty, or property? To you, I'm sure that I need not add aught on this subject. The consequences of a lax or inefficient government are too obvious to be dwelt on. 13 sovereignties pulling against each other, all tugging at the federal head, will soon bring ruin on the whole. Pay attention here. Whereas a liberal and energetic constitution, well guarded and closely watched to prevent encroachments, might restore us to that degree of respectability and consequence to which we had a fair claim and the brightest prospect of attaining. In that last sentence, what is Washington calling for? Say it. A new constitution, a more powerful constitution with a more powerful national government. because the national government we have right now is very weak, and we're losing control. Okay, and we may have another revolution. We got Shays' Rebellion, which was about 800 people. Now Washington's talking about 12 to 15,000 people with this idea that we need to tear down the system and share everything equal. Okay, do away with all debts, private and public. Okay, Washington is scared that everything he's worked for is collapsing.
Is there a call to socialism?
It's not called that, but the ideas follow a little bit more along the line of Rousseau. Remember when we looked at Rousseau?
Yeah.
Okay. And we talked about how Rousseau may have been studied by Marx, and he was. Okay. These ideas of true democracy or pure democracy. Okay. Where everyone shares in every decision.
So when was Karl Marx alive?
It's very similar. Okay. Where we basically share everything economically. So there's no ownership of property. Okay, everything is shared in common. Everyone is equal economically. Now you need a government to distribute that, to control it. Okay, so what it's always turned into is dictatorships. It's never worked. Okay, socialism is similar in the sense that it is redistribution of property and wealth. Okay, but you retain, under socialism, you retain private property. People still own property. Okay, but you're going to pay more in taxes to share your wealth with others that don't have it. Okay, creating more equity of outcome. Does that make sense? Yeah. Okay. So, one last thing I want to read to you, and then we'll move on. Okay. This is from, now, we haven't talked a lot about the bastard child from the Virgin Islands, Alexander Hamilton, right? Okay, so Hamilton, those of you that don't know the story, have I talked about this, how Hamilton, when he was 13 years old, so he was born in the Virgin Islands. His mother was from there. Okay, so he's racially mixed. His father's from Scotland. Okay, but his father left. So he's raised by his mother. Okay, and there was a time in this country, guys, where men and boys that did not have fathers were treated differently. You guys know what the term bastard means, right? You know what that means, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so Hamilton's got to have a chip on his shoulder to begin with, because you're not going to treat me differently because my freaking dad left my mom. You know what I mean? I don't care what you think. That's how Hamilton was, and he's brilliant, right? So at the age of 13, I tell you, it's like he's running this. He worked for this shipping magnate, like this guy that had a huge shipping company in Virgin Islands. I tell you this? Yeah. And so the guy goes on vacation at the age of 13. He leaves this to Hamilton to run this multinational shipping company. When he gets back, it's in better hands than when he left. Okay. They talked about John Adams going to law school at 14. You understand? We're in a much different world today. Okay. And some of these people are brilliant. Now, some of you that are really smart here, if you were pushed to a different level, like you were homeschooled and you were taught to read things that were beyond what were thought beyond your ability, which they're not, you just have to be challenged and you have to be given the context and have somebody maybe help walk you through some of it. But you guys with really bright minds can do it. You know what I mean? Like, you could finish high school early. Could you not? Yes, you could. Some of you could very easily. Okay. And you could start college early. And you're getting college credit for this. So in a sense, you're already doing that, right? So, but you could do it much earlier if you had the right type of education. Okay. And a lot of these people were homeschooled. You know what I mean? Like, they had really smart people living in the home. Madison did. Madison was tutored at the time he was a young child. So by the time he's 15, 16 years old, he's already had what you get in classical education at Oxford. Okay, so anyhow, Madison was that type of brilliance. Okay, he could read it, he could remember it and understand it. Got it. Recall, I got it. Oh, I can explain that to you because I read it one time. Wouldn't that be nice? Some of you are pretty close to that, can do that. Okay, all right. So the road leading to this constitutional convention was long. It began at Mount Vernon in 1785, okay, when commissioners from Maryland and Virginia resolved a heated dispute over the navigation of the Potomac River. Remember, you had to have 9 of 13 votes in the articles to do anything. Virginia hoped this might serve as a pattern for other interstate disputes. In early 1786, they called for a convention in Annapolis for the purpose of framing such regulations of trade as might be judged necessary to promote the general interest. James Madison was despondent, as was Hamilton, about trade and border disputes rivaling the states. So in March of '86, Madison wrote to Jefferson, then in Paris, that the present anarchy of our commerce and described the way predominant seaport states were fleecing their neighbors. Appalled by selfish laws issued from state legislatures, Madison warned Jefferson that they had become so frequent and so flagrant to his alarm the most steadfast friends of republicanism. So this Annapolis meeting where Madison and Hamilton are there, and I went to a wedding, my niece's wedding in Annapolis 3 summers ago. Outdoor wedding, 100 degrees. But for the first time, I went to Annapolis. Any of you guys been to Annapolis, Maryland? Okay, it's where the Naval Academy is. Okay, it's a really cool place, guys. Okay, so if you're ever out east, it's a kind of a cool place to visit. The port there. There's a lot of restaurants and taverns and lobster and crab. Okay, really good food. Okay. Anyhow, I went and found where they met in Annapolis, and I took a picture of it because that's what history teachers do. Okay. The Annapolis attendees soon agreed that the commercial disputes among the states were symptomatic of underlying flaws in the political framework, and they arrived at the breathtaking conclusion that they would urge the states to send delegates to a convention in Philadelphia the following May to amend the Articles of Confederation. Okay, so when they meet for this constitutional convention, which is what we're about to start taking notes on, the original plan is to change the Constitution, the Articles. Okay, eventually what they're going to come to the conclusion is we need to scrap that piece of crap and write a whole new Constitution. With me? Okay, so I just did all the build up to that. That's what I've been doing. Okay, so now let's go there. The Constitutional Convention. Where's it going to be held? Philadelphia. The year 1787. Going to be during the summer. The hottest summer in Philadelphia in 30 years. What building are they going to be meeting in? Independence Hall, which used to be called Carpenter's Hall. Yes? I'm going to do you guys a solid. I got some pretty good notes from my regular government class on this. We'll throw them up there for you. Sweet. Get my mouse to work here. All right. I think this is chapter 2.
Do you like the TV or the projector more?
Yeah, I'm still working on that, figuring out there's things I like and there's things I don't like. US government.
What was the idea behind TVs instead of projectors?
Say that again?
What was the idea behind TVs versus projectors?
I don't know. The light bulbs don't go out as quick.
I'm sorry. I don't be serious.
Okay. Isn't this pretty? So this is what you have to look forward to in history class. All my notes will be PowerPoints. Okay. But this is for my regular government class, so ignore the section stuff and all that. Okay. So we're talking about this, the Constitutional Convention. Okay. So May 25th through September 17th, 1787. Okay. Philadelphia. Okay. There's going to be 55 delegates. 55 men. Okay. 3 of which will be Catholic. Okay. Now, guys, this is a who's who. Now, there's one guy that walks into the room and everybody's in awe. This guy right here. Who's that? George Washington. It's like God just walked into the room, guys. Okay? Now, of course, I'm being silly. This is the most famous person in the New World. You understand? He defeated the British. Okay? He's the most respected man in the New World. He's still 6'4". He might have shrunk a little bit. But he's still alive. And the fact that he shows up at this convention, guys, means a lot. It lends to it what some would refer to as gravitas. Have you heard this word before? What's that?
Neil deGrasse Tyson.
Oh, Neil? Oh, okay, yeah. He uses it.
He likes that word.
Yeah, gravitas. Which, as a physicist, right? He's a physicist, right? Yeah, I think he's a physicist. It means gravity. It means weight. It means substance, mass. Okay. Now, in political science terms, this term gravitas became very popular in the year 2000. So I'd be remiss in not sharing with you that story. In the year 2000, George W. Bush, the governor of Texas, was running for president. And he put a guy named Dick Cheney in charge of his vice presidential search. So right now, all these candidates, Trump's trying to figure out, like, if I win the nomination, who's going to be my running mate? Now, he said none of those 7 that were on the stage the other night looked like good vice presidential material. Kind of a slap in the face. And DeSantis said yesterday, I would not accept the vice presidential nomination from Trump. Okay. But of course he would if he was asked. He'd be stupid not to. Okay. People say these things. But so Bush has Dick Cheney looking for this running mate. And he interviews all these people, like, who would make a good vice presidential running mate? And Cheney comes to the conclusion that it's, in fact, Dick Cheney, that should be the running mate, the guy in charge of the search. And he's right. I mean, Dick Cheney has been in government for decades. He served in Congress. He served as chief of staff of an earlier president. He served in cabinets before, wealth of experience. And he aligned well with Bush on his policies. And so when they announced that Dick Cheney was going to be Bush's running mate, ABC News, talking head. You guys know what a talking head is? Like right now. This is what you see when you turn on the TV, right? A talking head. Yes? A talking head on ABC News says, Dick Cheney brings gravitas to the Bush ticket. Okay? 10 minutes later on CNN. Dick Cheney, gravitas. Okay? Fox News, gravitas. CBS, gravitas. MSNBC, gravitas. Saturday Night Live, gravitas. Like they did a skit on this because everybody started using this word, gravitas, that most people never heard of, and now all of a sudden everybody's using gravitas. You can't get away from it. Okay? That was the year 2000. And Mystery Bright in 2023 is talking about gravitas. And when this man walks into the room, Washington, he brings gravitas. Good? Welcome. Okay. Good story?
Great story.
Yeah, thank you. Okay. Now, 31 of the 55 had attended college. The average age? 42. For them, they were all rich, except for one. There was a farmer from Maryland named William Few. He was just a farmer. I don't know how much land he owned, but apparently not very much because he wasn't wealthy.
Did he like walk in the wrong room or something?
He was a man of few assets. Really few. They were mostly lawyers or wealthy landowners. Okay. 8 had signed the Declaration in 1776. What? 11 years earlier. Okay. 7 had been to the First Continental Congress, which was 13 years before. And 7 of them were governors of their states in 1787. Well, hold up now. So you're going to send your governor of your state to Philadelphia for 3 months to work on this new Constitution. Okay? That's how important they felt this was. Okay? So this group is impressive. Now, they all believed in this social contract theory, that the social contract called the Articles of Confederation needed to be changed. And then I would say probably 2 weeks into this, they said, you know what? We need to scrap it and start from scratch. Okay? So, some notables that are there. Of course, Washington is there. There you go. Notables that are there. Franklin is still alive. And I mentioned, of course, Madison and Hamilton. Okay? Absent, notably. Thomas Jefferson, of course, is where? Where's John Adams? Britain, okay? And Patrick Henry, our good friend from Virginia. Patrick Henry. He was invited. But he said, I'm not going. Because I know what you people are up to. You're about to establish a new government with more power than is necessary. And that government's going to become too powerful, and it's going to destroy our liberty. And I will not be a part of it, says Patrick Henry. So he refuses to go. And in some ways, Patrick Henry's going to be right. Okay? But in other ways, he'll be wrong. Washington will be named the chairman of the Constitutional Convention. That is, like I said, it's going to bring meaning and power to this convention. Now, Madison is going to get this nickname. Somebody borrow my Madison book? I don't recall somebody borrowing my book. Might have been a different class. It's a black cover. It says Madison. Short book. Usually sticks out for me. Okay, dang it. I got that one from the History Book Club. Okay. I'll track it down, hopefully. Okay. All right. So Madison is going to be called the father of the Constitution. Okay. Now, where's Madison from? Virginia. And he brings with him a plan for a new constitution. What's that plan called? The Virginia Plan. Okay? So the Virginia Plan will become kind of the framework that they start with. Okay? Now, there are going to be people that disagree with this plan. And there'll be another plan put forward to counter it. That plan is called, remember this from last year? Say it. Yeah. New Jersey plan. Okay? So, we're going to get into this. But here's the thing. This is why we call him the father of the Constitution. The Virginia plan will not become the Constitution, as we will see. But it's the framework that we start with. Okay? So, that's important. Madison did not introduce the plan himself. What he did is he had Edmund Randolph, who's another Virginia delegate, introduce the Virginia plan for him. And so Madison could sit back and read the room because they discussed his plan as it was being read. Okay? And he wanted to take notes on what people were saying so that he could counter those arguments or make adjustments to his plan that would make other people happy. Okay? So his notes we still have today. I mean, we have the original Virginia plan in his handwriting. Okay? So this is why we give him this moniker, Father of the Constitution. Okay? Because his notes let us know what people said during this convention. Why is that important? It's important, guys, because the Constitution itself is a very small document. I got one back. So the Constitution is very short. Okay? I got this little pocket version here. Okay? All pages. Okay. Starts here on page 31, right here. Okay? Article 2. Okay. 13 pages of this little thing right here. That's how long the Constitution is. Okay? It's a broadly written document. So what do the words on this thing mean on the Constitution? Well, if you look at Madison's notes from the arguments that took place, you can figure out the context of why they wrote what they did in the Constitution. You understand? It gives it context. That's important. Okay? Because the Supreme Court has to make decisions on what was meant by the original intent of the people that wrote the Constitution. So when you have cases like Roe v. Wade, where they're trying to figure out whether laws that prohibit abortion are legal or not, they have to go to the Constitution and the amendments as well to the Constitution. Okay? All right. Anything I need to add in here? Okay, yeah, I got a few things to kind of mention. So I said they all agreed that we needed a new social contract. They believed in these social contracts. That you have to give up some of your individual rights for the common good. They did not want pure democracy. They did not want direct democracy that we talked about a few minutes ago, Max. They thought that was dangerous, direct democracy. They called it mobocracy. So they want some type of republic, some type of representative democracy that would be best for us in this country. Okay? And what they created, they knew they would have to block vice with vice. Because certain people are going to want certain things. That's what a vice is like. I get this, I need this, I want this, I got to have this. But if you have all this, it may danger you or somebody else. It may danger somebody else. So I'm going to give somebody else a way to block you, to block vice with vice. Or better put, these words, to create a system of mutual frustration. They created a constitution, a system of mutual frustration. Saturday night, guys, Speaker of the House Kevin McCarthy got enough votes to pass a spending resolution that will fund the government for 45 days. He angered the far right wing of the Republican Party, so much so that they may try to remove him as Speaker of the House. But they got enough Democrats on board to agree with this. They sent it over to the Senate, and the Senate passed it. So, Lottie freaking da, we're not shutting down the government for 45 more days. Now, who's frustrated? Guess what? There was no funding in that resolution to fund Ukraine. Some people are frustrated. Some people are happy. The system is ugly. It's a mess. We block vice with vice. System of mutual frustration. Or to quote Churchill from the very beginning of this class, democracy is the worst form of government ever contrived by man, except for all the rest. Our system is messy, but they designed it that way. Okay? So, when you hear people complain about Congress, it's nothing new. Okay? Good? Now, we can make this all like a lot simpler and just, create a dictatorship and have one person in charge. Right?